We got the green light.
What? We would never interrupt if it wasn't important.
Read it out.
Hello team, I'm just out of a meeting and I'm thrilled to share. Wow!
It's the same guy.
Let's go.
Same guy.
Ah, good.
They're not seeing how big of an operation this actually is.
We're sending the content team all across Australia to capture everything.
So if you actually want to scale up a portfolio, it's rent vesting it. And then from next week, it's basically we sending it. Alright, let's jump into this room and I'm going to explain what we're going to cover off in this vlog. By the way, that's the new and improved whiteboard. I think you guys are all asking for a video with Jono around trusts and how that all works, but I wanted to jump in, introduce you to the vlog. If you guys are new here to the channel, my name's Ravi and I run one of the fastest growing buyers agencies, Search Property, and I want to document the whole thing. So in this vlog, I want to cover off a couple of things like what is holding most investors back from scaling up their portfolio, and some stuff around mindset as well. So I'm going to get the team to try and help out as much as possible. You can hear it from different voices because you're probably sick of hearing my voice at this point, but we're going to cover off a few things. We're going to get the whiteboard involved as well. And I just want to get you guys looking at the behind the scenes of the agency. Hence why it's called Behind the Agency. All right, guys, I want to focus on some of the common questions that people are asking on phones and then just sort of workshop it and see if there's anything I can help with, anything that you guys can share amongst yourselves as well, because I think there's a few that just keep popping up. And I know that you've come to me, George, and then you come to me, Nathan, and I thought it'd be good to see, are there some things that we can focus on to get the best outcome for clients as well? Let's just start with most common sort of things that you're getting asked. George, you want to kick off?
Yeah, one most common would probably be, what about the interest rates?
Okay.
Everyone seems to think that they're a bit high at the moment to start purchasing property.
Okay. So interest rates.
Next one would be interest-only loans. I guess people are wondering why we tell them that they're better for investing. And next one, why don't we buy in major cities like Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne?
Okay. How about yourself, Nathan?
Should I get started if I haven't organised my pre-approval and everything?
Okay, so no finance.
Should I buy my first home or an investment to begin with?
Oh yeah, home versus IP. Well, let's focus on these for now. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that comes up. So I think first one is around interest rates. And so at the moment, so people are coming to you guys and saying, well, interest rates are really high. Are they saying or suggesting or asking you guys what happens if they go higher? What does that look like? Is that what they're coming back with?
Yes and no. It's also about like, what if they stay where they are?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also about if they fall, what will happen to the market?
Got you. Okay, cool. Let's cover off that for now. At the moment, obviously we know interest rates, there's that correlation between inflation and interest rates, which we'll talk about in the videos anyway. But if we're now holding and inflation's coming down, right? What we're effectively going to see is the next move is more likely to be a cut rather than an increase. So that's the first point that we need to get people understanding is why is the interest rate going to go up? Because they're probably going, I'm reading some media headline and they're going, oh, there might be an extra 2 rate hikes this year. But then when you actually read the article, it's like they're picking one data point out of the 50 million that are there. That's actually going to suggest which way the interest rates will move. So I think the biggest way to sort of speak to clients about this one, if interest rates are at say, 6% and they drop to 5%, right? There's more people that can borrow at 5% than they can at 6%. So it just means that it's like you have more people here than they are up here. So people are sort of sitting on the sidelines because they can't borrow at the moment. As soon as interest rates drop, you now have an influx of more people coming in. So I think the best way to approach it is if someone is ready with finance and they can borrow now, it's like, would you rather buy when everyone's available to buy? Or would you rather buy when there's only a few buyers in the market?
Yeah, because then when everyone's available to buy, then prices will inevitably go up.
Correct. I mean, it's supply and demand. That sort of answer it as well. You got?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that people understand this when it comes to shares. When it's difficult to buy, everyone thinks, oh, I shouldn't be buying. I should be waiting until it's dropped down. It brings around the idea of dollar cost averaging.
People think that because with shares, right, because it's a smaller amount, they're like, oh, I can DCA over a period of that time.
Yeah.
With property, I think it's like, oh, well, how do you DCA with property? They're probably like, I can only buy one property for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
and instead they look, well, what if this is the wrong time to buy? But that's where you've got to look at the longer term with real estate, right? It's a 15, 20-year game, and if you're going, I can buy one every 2 to 3 years, well, that's your DCAing it. The biggest way to understand this will be, okay, less people involved. At 6%, the same property is, say, 480,000, right? But as soon as they get to 5%, which will, if we see that in the next 12 months, you're probably looking at a house now 520K. So are you okay spending 40K extra because you want the peace of mind that, interest rates have now fallen? Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the mentality that you got to have. And when you've got prices go up, your rental yield starts dropping anyway. And that's probably a perfect segue into this one, right? Is interest only versus interest plus principal. So based on your understanding, George, why would someone go interest only versus going interest plus principal?
If you're going interest only, you're essentially paying less to hold the property.
Yeah.
Technically speaking.
So it's holding cost.
It's the holding cost.
And that's exactly what it is. Because it's like, the game of real estate is who can hold the most assets for as long as possible. It's like the Monopoly game, right? You go around and you're like, I've spent all my money, and it's like, shit, now if I land on something like the income tax, or the I land up in jail, or I end up on someone else's property and I've got to pay rent, that's like everyday life. If you spend all your money and buy a property and you've got no emergency fund, you're out of the game. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do, is go, how do we reduce our holding costs? People focus on, I've got to pay the debt down at some point. Yeah, at some point. And then what you're doing is you've got to go figure out your strategy. And do you find that when you're speaking to people, they don't really know where they need to start? They don't really know how to go about this process. Are you guys finding that?
Massively.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so for them, they're more likely going to benefit from a strategy rather than just find a property. Correct?
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why we focus so heavily on the team here to go, how do we think strategy and long-term relationship first, rather than being transactional? Like a BA comes in and says, hey, I charge $10,000, $12,000. I'm the cheapest here. I can find you a property. Awesome. But how do they know what the right strategy is for them? All of the extra bits and pieces that you get for the extra couple of $1,000s. That's the part people miss out on, because you can buy the right property, but if it's the right property, it might not be right for you because your strategy is wrong. And you end up in a position that's pretty bad anyway.
It's like going to an accountant, right? You're not just paying the accountant to lodge your tax returns. You're paying them to know the best way to lodge them.
Yeah.
What can I claim back? The understanding, the strategy behind it.
That's why I pay more for it.
Yeah, I love that. We'll keep that simple holding cost. Now, capital cities versus regional. This does drive a little bit into this as well, because your yields at caps, like cap cities, let's say Sydney, you're probably at like average of like a 3% yield, whereas say the regional areas that we look at, probably closer to about 5%. There's no doubt in my mind that if you're picking locations that have long-term growth metrics there, you got the short-term metrics being met as well, where there's no incoming supply and there's just not enough of it, you're still going to get growth. And if you looked long and hard enough at the right areas, some of those regional areas will outgrow places like Sydney as well. There's this common misbelief. You go, blue chip, we're going to buy near Sydney. That's how I'm going to get all the gains. But I'm living proof of it, because my property portfolio has done exactly what I've needed it to do, and it's proved my thesis. And there's people before me that have done it too. That's how I learned it.
Trying to book.
All right, let's go through this one. So no finance, can we still start? So what are you guys telling people at the moment? Because they go, I don't have finance. You almost don't want the finance because you don't know what your strategy is. Yeah. Sometimes you get people that come through with a pre-approval and they're like, I was going to buy my own house, but now I'm thinking about an investment. What would you suggest, Nathan?
There's a lot involved in setup. The pre-approval is just one of them, but if people are buying through self-managed super fund, they've got to set up the self-managed super fund. Sometimes people want to decide exactly where they're going to be buying before they come on board. Problem is, life gets in the way. They're busy people, they're working full time. I mean, that's why they're in the position to buy property anyways, because they put so much time into their work, into making money. So the general trend is, if someone tries to do it themselves and they're working with people that they have just met because they've just looked up a broker, they're not able to move very quickly, and they might think it's going to take a few weeks, and they might tell me, give me a few weeks. That's fine. I follow up in a few weeks and I need another month. My broker hasn't got back to me, or I haven't had the time to actually sit down and do it, which is granted because they're busy people. The benefit of getting started with us earlier is that we've got all the partners in the right places. We've got our own brokers, we've got our own property accountants, so on and so forth. We can keep on top of them, make sure that they're doing their job quickly, doing it properly. Goals are aligned as well, so that they're not having to repeat what they're looking for to every single person.
That's most of the problem, right? It's accountability.
Yeah.
And then the laziness. And I do it myself, you guys do it as well, where you're like, I have to explain the exact same thing to the next person. And then I'm going to explain the same thing to another person. And chances are those two other people are going to have different ideas of what you should be doing. Then you go, oh, I'm back and forth. I've got analysis paralysis. I'm not going to make a move. So it's like, it's so important that you get the right team around you that all are in the same mindset for your strategy. So I love that fact that even if you don't have finance, you can start. I mean, we changed it on our website too. It was used to be, you get a pre-approval link come to us. Realize that 99% of brokers that are out there, shout out to the brokers, do an amazing job when it comes to the principal place of residence, right? But when it comes to building a scalable portfolio, not possible. Most of them don't know how to do it. And the ideas or the strategies that some of these guys tell us, like, it is shocking. You know, oh, buy a new house of land and then, you know, you can, in 18 months, you'll be able to buy something. Or you can buy established, buy it in the right location, get the growth, buy under market value, and you'll be able to get going again in 3 to 6 months. So I think you just got to pick the right people. Final one, home versus investment property. I used to get a lot of this on calls, which is, oh, I want the first home buyer grant. But I think there's two things that I want to cover off is borrowing capacity and lifestyle. Where do you guys live in the same property that you can rent? How much do you think it would cost to buy that same place?
2 million.
2 million?
Easy.
Jeez, where do you live?
It's not that fancy.
I live up the road. Probably like 1.2, 1.5.
Yeah.
2-bedroom apartment.
Now, could you go and buy that today? You individually?
Hell no.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so straight away, if you want to go and take advantage of the first home buyer grants, you now lose lifestyle. And you probably have to buy something that just for the sake of buying so you can be under that threshold and for what you can afford, you're probably buying a subpar investment house, but investment, because you're essentially going, I'm going to buy it, get the grant, and then I'll move out, put a tenant in there, and I'll move back to the place I want to live.
You're still investing.
You're still investing.
Yeah.
And if you're investing for something and you thought about it emotionally, you're screwed. The next part as well, so that's lifestyle and borrowing capacity. If you've got a house or you've got a unit in Sydney, you're now in a position where your repayments on $1 million is going to be significantly higher than the rent that you have to pay for that same property. So if you actually want to scale up a portfolio, it's rent vesting, and that's why I talk about it, that's how you get it. I still rent, and my place is like $2.5 million. But I ain't got $2.5 million that I want to spend there, and I definitely wouldn't be buying that. You know what I mean? So I think these are the most common things that are coming up, and hopefully after this session, we're very clear with the strategy we want to take. Because at the end of the day, it's not just, oh, hey, yeah, let's get as many sales. It's how do we help as many people as well? Because we're getting far too many calls where we're focusing on value and, you know, and sales and whatnot. But it's like we have so many people that aren't ready, but they just want the education. As they watch a YouTube channel as well. So yeah, I think good little session, guys. So that's awesome.
I'ma make a difference, I'ma shine some light. I'm gonna get us rich.
So we're gonna jump into a session that we're gonna shoot now, and it's probably out on the YouTube channel already, so if you're interested, definitely go check it out. We'll link it up somewhere. It's a chat between myself and Christy. Now, Christy is a sourcing manager, so it's basically like the main part of a buyer's agent role. She's worked at a couple of other buyer's agencies, so I wanted to sort of bring you guys more value around what are we doing differently here that other buyer's agencies aren't doing. Not so much as like a, hey, come to us and, you know, a sell sort of session. It's more around, okay, if this is more suitable for you, then this is why this option works. Otherwise, alternatively, you can look at someone else as well.
One thing I would say to younger people is try not to focus on just buying a property to live in for the rest of your life. That's the way my generation was certainly brought up. And if you can shift that for young people moving forward, where they grow up with the mindset of building their wealth.
So we've got 6 or 7 episodes out now. Hopefully you're watching this and someone sent it to you going, this is a little entertaining. Let me see how a business operates and how it operates as a startup, how a team's gone from 4 people 12 months ago to now almost 40 full-time staff. And I think we're on track to maybe get to 100 at some point. But yeah, it's all in the attempt to try and help you guys and bring as much value as possible from showing you what realistically happens at a company like this. We share a lot of content out there. You see me on YouTube, and maybe it's not a good indication or the most accurate representation of what actually happens because there's a lot of hard work that goes into it.
Shoot my shot, got it wet. Bet that's all.
Hey Jono, what have you got on now?
So I am going to review a property that we bought for a client, I think it was about 6 or 12 months ago, and then look at what his next steps might be to grow out his portfolio.
I'm
just having another look at the client's portfolio here. This was a place in North Queensland. They bought it for $385,000 and they bought this property March last year. So it's grown around 15% per annum as a compound annual growth rate since, which is really, really good. And they're now looking at their second property with us by utilising some of that equity, I believe, to go again. So we're now going to jump on the call with them and have a chat. And I sent you through a email with a link to our strategic portfolio planner. I don't know, had you had a chance to have a look at that one? Or any other questions at all? Or?
No, that's the kind of what I was looking for, between 400 and 450 mark.
Yeah, no, 75 should be enough, especially because we could go closer to 400 if we needed to, just to make sure you've got a little bit of buffer. Cool. Okay. Well, if there wasn't anything else, I'll send you the documents. So to get the ball rolling for the next one, you just need to sign an agreement and then pay the deposit, basically exactly the same as last time. And then we'll have a quick sort of phone call just to confirm like the areas and the budget that we'll be going for, and then we can start the search pretty much straight away, and you'd be looking at a few weeks for us to find a property.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, John. I appreciate it, mate.
Easy, bub. I'll send that stuff through, and yeah, let us know if you wanted to have a chat after you've had a look at the portfolio planner as well. Easy, bub. Take care. Bye. Bye.
All right, so we did a whiteboard session, just figuring out what the long-term plans were. He wanted to buy personal, but he also wants to purchase under a trust, and then the idea of purchasing some properties under SMSF, so self-managed super fund. And then we just sort of projected out what that could look like, how to pay off all the debt. Now I'm just gonna go across to the account manager. This is the speed, I love speed. So I've already introduced him to the broking team in there. So they've had a chat around, they're gonna get documents and whatnot. Now I'm gonna go to Emma, who's the account manager. Hi Emma, how are you?
Good,
So
how are you?
obviously I spoke to Alex and I spoke to him about what sort of property he wanted, what the strategy looks like, and so it was good that you got to meet him as well in person. So ideal price range he's looking for is about 480 to 500K. He only wants a house. He is open to something that's older with bigger land, but he's also open to something that's potentially built in the last sort of 15 to 20 years. He wants minimum land size of 450 square meters.
Okay.
In terms of location.
So can I just do like a, hey, it was good to meet you today, understand that, so I'll introduce him to them and then understand that you wanted to confirm the purchase and location, so I'll wait for you to get back.
Perfect.
Yeah, easy. Okay, cool. I'll see you in. No,
Thanks, Emma. Hope you guys enjoyed the Behind the Agency, another episode on this series. I guess the main thing you're seeing is that there are so many people involved in an operation like this, and speed is the key. And for us, it's not just about hiring for the sake of hiring. It's every specific person has a specific role. And you can see how important it is for the client to have all those people there. People like your George and Nathan up front. You've got the entire sales team backing them up as well. You've got the sourcing guys there, always finding deals, constantly talking to agents. And then you've got the dedicated account managers as well. And for us, the way that we've built out this company is to provide as much value as possible for clients like yourself. So if you are interested in watching more stuff like this, then definitely subscribe to the channel. We bring out fortnightly content when it comes to the vlog. And if you're thinking about buying an investment property, definitely hit us up. We are a bunch of nerds when it comes to buying property, being passionate about property and researching. And we love talking to agents as well as talking to you guys and hearing your stories. So if you need any help, I'll leave a link in the description below and you can book in a free call with our team. I'll catch you guys in the next vlog.